Okay, the pay-per-view is come and gone. I'm going to be honest here. I forgot about TakeOver War Games 2. You guys want me to do a review of it? Tell me below, and I was going to watch it anyway, probably tomorrow. But if you want me to watch it and do a review of it, tell me below now, and then I'll do a review of it when I watch it. But as it stood, with the stuff I've been working on, I just forgot. So, going into Survivor Series, my epic, I'll give it to you like this. Before Raw, I was like, here's rock bottom. I was maybe about here. Once Becky broke her nose, it went down. Once Daniel Bryan went from face to heel and got the title, I flatlined. I had no interest or expectations of this pay-per-view at all. I didn't think this pay-per-view was going to be good. Now, was this pay-per-view good? Because I know a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, this pay-per-view was great. It had a lot of twists and turns. Really? No. I don't care if the Lexman, if the Slag Daddy of Off the Rope Show Central says this was great. I don't care if the Lexman says it's great. I don't care if JD says this is great. If you look at the grand scheme of things, this show was, well, from the beginning into the middle of it, it was mediocre. Going from the middle to the end, it became maybe average. This became an average pay-per-view. This was not an amazing show. This wasn't. SmackDown for a third year in a row loses, which makes it even more boring. The crowd parts of the way of this pay-per-view was just saying boring. Not constant, but like parts of it, they were beginning to chant boring. Now, I won't say there weren't some matches there that were gems. There were a few matches that were okay, at least in certain parts of one whole match. But when it comes down to it, you're going from a mediocre here to average. This is it. This is as far as this show went. It became maybe 15-20% better. That's not good. But let's get into the show. Okay. Two things when it came to the kickoff show. One, the fight between Ruby Riott and Natalya. They should never been there in the first place. They should have just put Becky in and not Becky. The reason I'm botching is because of how the match went. But once Sasha and Bayley were part of it, I'll get to in a few minutes. It just, Then you have the 5-on-5 tag team elimination. Now, parts of it were not bad. Xavier Woods, as far as I could see, was a bit botchy. The person who shined the most, who was the one that shined the most to me personally? Well, I'll give it to you like this. Chad Gable should be something special, and he's not. The guy is a straight up beast for his size. To be able to basically grab someone and do a deadlift into basically a suplex is something that you don't see every day. And he can do this on a constant basis, and the guy should be doing something better than where he is now. He's the only shining mark there in the entire thing. And as I said before, I love the Usos. I do. I love me some Uso. But this is a Samoan push. So when it came down to it, I didn't expect them not to finish this entire match, which they did, and they're the ones who won it. Just like I said, I felt the Usos were going to win, and there you go. They won. Didn't really mean much for them. It's just me. Now, first thing we're going to open with is the women's 5-on-5 elimination match, which they replaced Natalya and Ruby Riott. So that means you had... What pisses me off is that between the two teams, you have Tamina and Naomi. Yes, people can say a lot about Tamina. She's a boring jobber, but at least she can do her job. I'm going to repeat that again. At least she does her job compared to Nia Jax, who's too freaking green. At least she can actually wrestle well enough that she doesn't hurt anybody. So when it came to this section of this match, seeing that Tamina got rid of Naomi and then Carmella got rid of Tamina, I'm going like, what the fuck? Why did you put them on the show at all? They barely was in there less than a minute and you just got rid of them. What was the point? Then, once they were going through the entire match and the entire show, I'll give it to like this. Sasha looked good. Bayley looked alright. But when it came down to it, and you're seeing the SmackDown side, it was just a freaking joke. Particularly once Asuka was by herself. I know Sonya Deville lasted a while. I know that, Mandy Rose, now having a possible feud with Sonya Deville, isn't that 100% interesting unless they make the story interesting? I just don't know. They better make the story interesting because there's really no reason to break them up. But anyway, once Sonya Deville was gone, it was just Asuka. It just didn't mean anything. Particularly once Nia Jax shoved her own teammate in a Sasha Banks off the top turn rope just so she can get submitted, so then she can go in and basically get rid of a Asuka. Now, mind you, when she came out, she was booed to hell. And you know what makes it worse? She's now being called the face breaker? I don't even remember what the name of it is. The face smasher, the face breaker, I don't care. You're now trying to capitalize on something that honestly you shouldn't be trying to capitalize on. You should be sending Nia Jax back to NXT or have Nia Jax release a statement, as I said in my Nia Jax video, that I believe that I need to step away because I did hurt Becky. I am sloppy in the ring and I need to improve myself. I am going to NXT for a little while to improve myself because I need work. Because that would have been better than this. Because they're going to give her heat that she's not going to want. But the WWE is not going to care because it's heat, period. That's just me. Let's move on. Let's move on to the match people are probably going to say was so incredibly great. But to me, it was average. And it was, and in some cases, below average. Because of what happened to the actual participants in the last couple of months. You got Shinsuke Nakamura versus I know I'm going to get heat, a Seth Rollins. People love Seth. People cheered Seth. And most of that match, they were cheering for Seth and they were cheering for Nakamura. But I'm going to be honest here. Because Nakamura has 100% been shit. Think about Zack Ryder. And that's what you got with Nakamura. Basically, people want to see him and be used. And they're doing nothing with him, particularly with a title. And then you see Seth Rollins, who's been screwed multiple times, who is doing almost nothing until now with Dean, and that's a questionable thing. Hopefully they'll book it properly, which I don't think they will. And he's been doing almost nothing but just going in matches that give him nothing. Yes, the crowd still loves him, they cheer for him, but still, nothing. And now you stick these guys together. The beginning of the match was very slow. And that's understandable. But then, even though it picked up halfway into it, it just didn't really mean anything. And it's not because this is about one of them getting the title from another. This is about both of them being spotlighted so badly for so long. As far as I'm concerned, Shinsuke Nakamura is a joke. That match didn't mean anything. It wasn't the fact that I knew he was going to lose, which I knew he was going to lose. I knew the majority of the matches were going to be lost to SmackDown Live. The thing that got me is that he should have been spotlighted weeks or at least a month ahead of time to give me something to cling to believe in Nakamura. And there's been nothing. Now, if Nakamura had been injured, fine, that's understandable. But if they just had him sitting in the freaking back doing nothing, or putting him on Superstars, or putting him on, what is the other one? Main Event. Why do I fucking care? Because I don't watch those shows. But this counts if Nakamura was injured. If he was not injured and he was just sitting back there because I had nothing for him to do, I didn't give a damn. And if anyone says this match was incredible, think about it for a minute. What does Seth Rollins actually have without Dean Ambrose? If there was no Dean Ambrose, and then you're sticking these guys together, yeah, it's a dream match. Of what? Both these guys have been badly booked. Yeah, they can have a good match. And mind you, this match was simply better. Not incredibly better, but better than the Nakamura match with AJ. This one was maybe a little bit better. Between Nakamura and Seth, this one was maybe about 10% better compared to Nakamura and AJ. And that is saying a lot. Now, let's move on. AOP versus The Bar. What the fuck was that? What was that? And you know what I'm talking about. The match itself was competitive. The match itself was very smash mouth. Cesaro is the man. He should already be in the main event. The guy, instead of having a US title or getting an IC title, should be in the main event. The guy has incredible ring ability. He doesn't have to jump around. He can really tell a good story. But what was that when it came to Drake Maverick? It's in my fucking face. I'm sorry for cursing so much. I'm actually frustrated with this. Instead of trying to make it look good that the Authors of Pain, and I'm not saying AOP, the Authors of Pain had won against The Bar. Because The Bar is liked. But you have to it's in my face again. You actually have to make Drake Maverick mess around outside, get knocked over by Big Show, get grabbed by the throat of Big Show, and then with a little fake bladder, fake urinate on himself. What the blue hell was that? That wasn't funny. That was not funny. You would think, well, if it's done properly, someone peeing on himself can be funny. Yeah, but that wasn't funny. It looked stupid. And then Sheamus looking at it, and then getting pinned by, I think, Razor. I don't even remember who it was. I think it was Razor. It doesn't matter. It was stupid. This brought the show down a tremendous amount for me personally. That just looked so cheesy. No, not even cheesy, cringy. It was stupid. But let's move on. The 5-on-5 elimination match. We knew they weren't going to win. I knew SmackDown Live was not going to win. But this was one of the better matches in the show. Kind of like what happened with the 5-on-5 tag team match, at least near the end, that was a little better. That before the Usos won, it was pretty good interaction with some of the people there. Like New Day was there, and it wasn't totally bad, but honestly, why didn't the 5-on-5 elimination match at least have one of the guys from Sanity? That would have been better. And worse yet, they got rid of Samoa Joe from the very beginning by Drew. Now, I understand that possibly Samoa Joe is hurt. And if he is hurt, he's just fulfilling his obligation, so they had to get rid of him quick if he was really hurt. That's understandable. He did the Coquina Clutch on Drew McIntyre, and then he got taken out. If he needed to be out because he's injured, I understand that. I understand 100%. But when you see this match, Shane McMahon tried to kill himself, trying to make this match mean something. He did. And in the end, he did some of the work. But the person who shined there the most was Drew. Drew shined the best there. And now there's a possibility that Finn Balor and Drew are going to have a feud. Now, I would love it for Drew and Finn Balor to do their heritage in this match. They're going to have this feud. Why not have an Irishman versus a Scotsman? Why do not, if they make this descend down into cultures, you will have something special. Turn Drew Scottish. Make him feel Scottish. Make Finn Balor Irish. Make him feel Irish. Have a Scot versus an Irishman, then you got something that would be interesting. If they make it a regular match, who's going to give a damn? It's going to be a bog down for Drew. They're going to bog Drew down with the match. They're going to bog down Drew with the feud. And I'm being honest. In the end, it is Braun Strowman who pretty much ends the show. He ends it. Now, let's move on to Seth Rollins' interview. Now I'm going to say this. It wasn't a bad interview with Seth. Talking about how he was dealing with Dean and how it was not easy dealing with Nakamura. At least he tried to put over Nakamura to a certain extent, which he can't. Nakamura is nothing but a joke jobber now. But at least he did try. Now, once it came to Dean, he did try to make it interesting. And I will say he did succeed in at least making it to a certain extent interesting going into TLC. I do not know what this is going to mean. But hopefully it will be something. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Counting on how much time they got. I don't even know how long they'll have before TLC happens. Is it 3 weeks from now? I don't even know. I think it's three weeks. Maybe 2 before TLC happens. I don't know how much time they're going to have. So they're going to have to really hustle to try and make this interesting on Raw. Which I don't think it will. The match I felt was the best match of the night was the Cruiserweight title match between Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali. I'm not a high-flying guy. I've said this before and I'll say it again and again. I like a balanced match. And if you're going to be honest, this match was a pretty balanced match. You got Mustafa Ali doing a lot more high-flying than Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy's a high flyer. There's no lie about it. But the way that he uses his power, way more than he uses high flying, makes it better for me. Personally, yes, it's not 100% balanced. You got grapple, you got high flying, you got ring psychology. It was more power than grappling. But still, it was something interesting. And Mustafa was trying to whack the living hell out of Buddy Murphy. He was doing everything he can. He was kicking him, he was smacking him in the face, he was punching him, and Buddy just brushed it off, said, really? That's all you got? I can believe a Buddy Murphy as Cruiserweight champion for quite a while. He's the type of person that I truly believe would make the Cruiserweights important. In fact, he could leave the Cruiserweights and actually go on SmackDown Live and be interesting in the US or the main title scene because he's a very strong, agile fighter. That's what I feel. I really feel that. Now, let's get to the match that was the worst match there was. No, I should take that back. Not the worst match there was. The second worst match. And that is Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey. I know people can say, are you stupid? That match was amazing. Really? We are talking about a Ronda Rousey who is dealing with a wrestler, and I'm repeating this again, a wrestler who does not adapt very well. I'm not saying that Charlotte doesn't have ability. And the one thing I will say, I'm glad she wore blue because it covered up her cleavage. Mind you, I like a woman's pair of boobs. But she's trying to be wholesome. She at least wore something to cover it up, at least until they got tattered and strung away. And you see nothing but cleavage. Huge amount of titty there. Now mind you, I do like a pair of boobs. But still, she needs to understand, she needs to stop showing so much if she wants to be wholesome when she's a face. As a heel now, and I'll get to that in a minute, that's something entirely different. Look, I'm going to be honest here. Was it a competitive match? Yes. But was it an extremely sloppy match? Yes. I understand people were cheering for Charlotte and cheering for Ronda, more cheering for Charlotte, because they want to see Charlotte topple the queen, the real queen of WWE, and that's Ronda Rousey, like another Roman Reigns. But here's the thing, and I want to make this very clear. You guys are cheering your asses off for Charlotte, who is the same thing. Charlotte is Flair's daughter, and she's being booked similarly. So how can you honestly think that the real queen is actually the queen when they're both freaking queens doing the same thing on both shows? I don't get it. Charlotte's the same thing as Ronda. And they wanted to cheer so much for Charlotte. And they did. Now, mind you, the booking they did for Charlotte made sense. It was the most botchy you could see from Ronda so far. She needed someone who can hold her hand, and Charlotte did not do that. Charlotte was sloppy. Hell, what did I say many times before, that Charlotte's not much different than Nia Jax? What did she do? She got her to bleed from her freaking mouth. And it's not because, and I know people are going to say, oh, come on, Ronda's sloppy. She kept her mouth open. No. Every time when Charlotte's in a match that's high profile, she hurt someone or herself. This is the 6th time I've seen Charlotte be in a match where she's either hurt someone or herself. This time she got Ronda to cut her own mouth because Ronda didn't bite her own mouth or tongue. Charlotte did that by elbowing her in the face. That's what she did, unless that was fake blood, which I don't think they needed to do anyway. But in the end, since it was so competitive, even if it was incredibly sloppy, Charlotte couldn't stand it. She got so angry, got a kendo stick, and started beating the living crap out of Ronda. Then she put it into the steps. Then she threw it back into the ring and started wailing on her there. And then finally got a chair, and being incredibly sloppy and cringy, it was like she didn't know how to put the chair around her freaking neck. Hear my words again. Charlotte, who's supposed to be the be-all, end-all, everyone says she's so incredible, could not understand how to position a chair around a Ronda Rousey's neck. You heard me, right? Anyone else would have understood how to do it. You lift the head, you slip it back, and that's it. They grab it by where they rest their back on it. She couldn't even do that. How many times did she try to do it? 4 or 5 times. I did 4 to 5 times. There you go. This just sickened me. How cringy and botchy it was. But it was still effective, that now that she's turned possibly heel and snapped the hell out of herself, basically snapped her shit, it makes sense. It'll make sense that when she sees Becky again, they'll probably be friends. And if they're trying to book this for Ronda versus Charlotte at WrestleMania, having Charlotte a heel now is better than waiting a month or 2 before WrestleMania. That's the way I see it. Now, the final, am I forgetting anything? I don't want to forget anything. No, I didn't wait. Clues. No, I think that's it. The final match of the night that really was pointless. Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. I said this didn't make a lot of sense for Daniel Bryan to turn heel. It didn't. Now, booking-wise, the way the match went, where Daniel Bryan was acting cagey, trying to mock Brock Lesnar, trying to bother him, trying to get him annoyed, made sense. It did. Then eventually, because he was a heel, it was the only way he could possibly win, because there was no way Daniel Bryan was going to win this match straight as a face. There's just no way. There was none. There was no chance. As they say, no chance in hell that was going to happen. So they had to turn him heel at least 2 weeks before this match. So it would be easier for him to cheat, so the crowd wouldn't be totally against him when it finally happened. And guess what happened? The crowd agreed with him. He just did the Eddie Guerrero. He decided to do the lie, to cheat, to steal. He decided to basically cause the ref to get hurt. And then basically nutshotted a Brock Lesnar and did everything he could to cheat, to win the match. In the end, what did we really get here? If he had won the match, that would actually make sense going back to SmackDown Live and dealing with AJ Styles. Because then, since AJ got the nut shot, it would make it more sympathetic for AJ because he's been screwed by another person nutshotting him, which I find they don't need to do that with AJ. But no, Daniel Bryan lost. So what did we really get in the show? Absolutely nothing out of this show. This was maybe average. I say mediocre. Even though there were several things in here that were done decently well, and I'm not taking away from the show, that at least when it came to the Cruiserweight Championship, it was good. The way they booked Charlotte makes some sense, particularly if they're building the Ronda next year. They had to turn a heel eventually, so they did it now. And when it came to... Well, when it came to Baron Corbin attacking Braun Strowman because he wants to get his hands on Braun Strowman so badly. Braun Strowman wants to get his hands on Baron Corbin. I'm sorry. I don't really care about it, but at least it made some sense, the attack after the 5-on-5 match. But honestly, this show just didn't matter. This show really sucked. Honestly. For me personally, it was mediocre. Maybe a bit average. For other people, they're going to say it was great. I'm sure many people are going to say it's great. But honestly, this show sucked. It was mediocre at best. Well, actually, it was average at best. Mediocre would be average for me. And that's just how I feel about it. But you guys tell me below. And tell me, do you really want me to do TakeOver War Games 2? Because I'm going to be watching it tomorrow. Tell me if you want me to do a review of it. So have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.